Before I spend the next few minutes gushing over Axiom Verge, it's important to recognize just how far the PlayStation has come in the past 2 decades. It wasn't that long ago that Sony would seemingly go out of their way to keep traditional 2D games off their platform, instead choosing to shine a light on the technologically more impressive 3D titles. But all that seems to have changed, and the PlayStation 4's 16-bit lineup is starting to rival that of the Super NES and Sega Genesis. While most of the modern throwbacks attempt to mix genres or add roguelike elements, Axiom Verge plays it straight. This is a loving tribute to some of the 20th century's most influential action games. It doesn't set out to reinvent the genre, and instead chooses to stoke the sense of nostalgia you get every time you see great pixel art. You play Trace, a scientist whose life is cut short when he accidentally triggers a massive explosion in his laboratory. But instead of ending the game there, our hero wakes up in an unusual new world, full of strange monsters and futuristic power-ups. A mysterious voice sends Trace on an adventure that will send him all over this alien world, and he'll slowly uncover a sinister plot and the truth behind his very existence. Axiom Verge wears its inspiration on its sleeve. The game makes no attempt to hide the obvious winks and nods to the classic 2D action games of the 1990s, especially when it comes to Super Metroid. The alien world looks suspiciously similar to Zeebee's, and the labyrinthian levels are full of the types of enemies that Samus faced 20 years ago. This is the kind of game where our hero explores an interconnected world looking for items that will send him deeper into the maze. This PlayStation 4 game does a good job of hitting the same notes without sounding like a cover band. Instead of rolling into a tiny ball, Trace befriends an alien that is able to fit into cramped areas. Instead of using the space jump, Axiom Verge has a grappling hook that has been lifted directly from Bionic Commando. Every item and power-up seems like the kind of thing you might actually find in Nintendo's seminal science fiction game, all without feeling like a giant ripoff. One of the most compelling items is the Address Disruptor, which can be used to exploit glitches found in the sprite-based world. What makes this beam especially unique is how it can be used to scramble the enemy's coding. The disruptor will affect each creature differently, sometimes in wonderfully bizarre ways. It's fun to see how the world and its many inhabitants react to this power-up, and I like that the disruptor is used to solve many of the game's more challenging puzzles. But it's important to keep in mind that this is not a weapon, and sometimes the mutations are actually worse than the original enemy. It's the emphasis on action that keeps this from being just another Metroid clone, and Axiom Verge absolutely nails the shooting mechanics. Beyond the impressive variety of alien creatures to gun down, the game is smart about giving players control over the hero. This guy does more than simply run and gun. He is also able to stand still while shooting, something you don't see enough of in shoot-em-ups. Couple that with the power-ups he finds throughout his travels, and Trace is practically unstoppable. Not that that's going to keep the enemies from putting up a good fight. Even by action game standards, Axiom Verge offers a remarkable arsenal. In fact, the game has so many guns that I was still unearthing new weapons long after the credits rolled. And Trace starts with a standard pea shooter, but it won't take long before he's blasting homing lasers, fireballs, beams of energy, and the most devastating yo-yo since Star Tropics. My favorite weapon ended up being the Kilver, an overwhelmingly powerful close-range weapon that fires bursts of electricity through floors and walls. And even if this shotgun analog isn't right for you, there's enough variety to cater to every type of shooter fan. It's no secret that a lot of games have used Super Metroid as a template. It's a tried and true formula. Axiom Verge knows this. It toys with your expectations and creates an experience that is not only better than the competition, but also smarter. Instead of relying on the 16-bit graphics and Metroidvania trappings, creator Tom Happ has used this as a jumping-off point for a much deeper adventure. And it all manages to come together thanks to a captivating story full of fun twists and turns. It doesn't hurt that the throwback graphics are stunning on the PlayStation 4. Axiom Verge uses sprite flickers and visual glitches to its advantage, sometimes in clever ways. Each of the 9 interconnected stages have a unique look and tone, and I'm a big fan of the alien designs. They range in size and difficulty, but each one is gorgeously constructed and dripping with personality. They also have a frightening look, and a few of them will haunt my nightmares for years to come. Even as somebody experienced in this style of action game, Axiom Verge took a long time to get through. There's a ton of content to unearth, and it will take you dozens of hours to locate everything. That said, gamers looking for a challenge can try out the speedrun mode, which adds a clock and cuts the story elements. I doubt I'll ever spend enough time to get good at this mode, but I can't wait to see how quickly the game can be conquered. Axiom Verge is a triumph on every level. This is not just another love letter to 8 and 16-bit action games, but rather a fully realized masterpiece in its own right. Instead of coming across as yet another imitator, Tom Happ has reinvigorated the subgenre with a number of fresh ideas. I'm not here to say whether or not Axiom Verge is better than Super Metroid, but I can say that it's definitely not worse. So, that's Axiom Verge. It feels good to finally be able to talk about this one, and I can't wait to hear everybody's reaction. But I'm even more excited to see the strategy guides pop up, because there are a bunch of hidden areas I missed in my first playthrough. Anyway, thanks for watching the review, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel, give us a like, and leave a comment below. You know, if that's your thing.